Welcome to Drop and Give Me 20, where you learn keys to entrepreneurial success as Lindsey Germono interviews business owners with military backgrounds on what works and what doesn't. Listen as they focus on the stories, both challenges and wins, that military entrepreneurs have faced in growing their businesses.
Welcome back to Drop and Give Me 20. I am your host, Lindsey Germono. Today we have Cameron Cruse with R Riveter. And if you are not familiar with R Riveter, you have not been watching TV, you've not been on social media. They are all over the place. Good morning, Cameron.
Absolutely. Lindsey, thank you so much for having me today.
So tell everybody who you are and a little bit about R Riveter.
Yeah, so I am Cameron Cruse, like you said. I'm the co-founder and chief operating officer of R Riveter, and we're a handbag company on a mission. And more specifically, our mission is to empower, inspire, and connect military spouses. And right now, we're doing that through providing mobile income, which means military spouses make the parts and pieces of our handbags wherever the military takes them. So they have a flexible mobile income that no matter what happens, they're part of this community. And then we assemble all the bags in Southern Pines, just outside of Fort Bragg in North Carolina.
So tell us a little bit tell us a lot about R Riveter. How did you guys, get to where you are now?
Yeah. So, the long story short with R Riveter is we are a bag company that our mission is to empower, inspire, and connect military spouses. And more specifically, we do that through providing mobile income. The big picture is that military spouses make the parts and pieces across the country, and then we get to assemble them in our fab shop just outside of Fort Bragg. And what that does is it allows military spouses to have that income and that job and that steady foundation that is a career that so many of us didn't have before this. And they get to take it wherever the military takes them. And it's also a flexible form of income so that, when we're pulling double duty as military spouses, as moms, as dads, when your spouse is deployed or on training, you need that flexibility. And that's first and foremost. So that's what we, have set out to accomplish. And we've been at it for about 5 years now.
And how many spouses work with R Riveter?
Yeah, so currently we're at a team of about 50 people. Wow. We have 30 contractors that work across the country, and those are all active duty military spouses with flexible income. And then we have a team of 20 employees in our fab shop and in our retail locations.
So, Cameron, you guys had some really awesome things going on in broadcast media too. Do you want to share a little bit about that? I know you guys were in Shark Tank, and I can't imagine what that experience was like.
When Lisa and I started this company in 2011, and if you would have asked us, would we be on Shark Tank in 4 or 5 years, I would have laughed in your face and told you you're crazy. I think Shark Tank was one of the more terrifying things that we had done just because it forced us to really look at who we are, what we're trying to do with this company, and how do we best support our military spouses. Ultimately, we knew that if we couldn't go on Shark Tank, tell our story, and get a deal, then what are we doing here? So we knew that it was kind of, at this point, it was all or nothing. We have to go for it and do the best we can. And it was one of the greatest things that ever happened to our company and our business. It really propelled us forward.
A lot of the listeners that are tuning in, of course, everybody knows who Shark Tank is. And did you secure one of the backers for your company?
We did. So we were lucky to go in and get a deal with Mark Cuban. And nice. So he is officially an equity partner. The best thing about Mark is his energy and his ability to say, when we first got out of the whole Shark Tank effect, if you will, after it aired, he was like, keep moving forward, stick with the momentum. The time is now. He really pushed us to keep moving forward with a ton of energy and momentum, which we might not have done, I'm not sure, but he was there pushing us and supporting us the whole way.
I have to ask for curiosity purposes, and I don't know the answer to this, but when you started R Riveter, you and Lisa were our military spouses?
Correct, yes.
So you started this as a military spouse and pushed into fifth gear to get into Shark Tank, and blow up. I mean, really, like that, what that's done for you is so inspirational. And that's why I'm so glad to have you on, because some of our listeners might not think that that's, an attainable goal for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, as military spouses, so many times we're pulling that double duty, we just have so much going on in our lives more than our civilian counterparts do. We have that military flair. So it basically, what Lisa and I have always done is not let that define who we are in a negative way, only in a positive way, and really push through and say, I might have to take a break today to be a mom and a spouse and take care of my family, but then I'm going to work through the weekend, and it just ultimately, we never let it get us down or tell us we couldn't do that.
You came up with this idea for bags, and they're a small item, like to hold and to touch. It's not like it's a, big item, but you saw this opportunity, and there are so many military entrepreneurs that do that, but they might fear that I don't think this can get that big, or I don't know how to do that. It is truly an amazing thing that you guys have done to get to this point. But one of the things that you touched on that I'd love to kind of dig deeper on today is that idea of being, you said a military spouse, define who you are. Talk to us about what that means.
Yeah. So, I mean, before I married my husband, before I met my husband, I had no idea what it meant to be in the military, let alone married to it.
Mm-hmm.
So
I hear you.
I think that, I graduated college with a master's in architecture, and we moved to Dahlonega, which is where I met Lisa, which is in the middle of nowhere. It's the 5th Ranger Training Battalion. And so I got hit with this huge dose of reality that my career was not going to be handed to me at that point. I don't know if it would have if I wasn't a military spouse or not, but I realized that if I wanted something for myself, I was just going to have to take it or make it. And at that point, I met Lisa, and she was thinking the exact same thing. And the more interesting thing about the way we started was we didn't start with bags. We started with the why. We started with this idea of empowering the military spouses around us and being able to provide that mobile income, because it's what so many of us needed. Mm-hmm. And that really that's what has held the whole mission together. The glue of the mission is the people and the reason why we're doing this whole thing. And without that, I don't think we would have gotten very far. So really, it was the why above all else. We had the why before we had the idea that we were going to make bags. And that's really what's driven us to where we are now.
In my conversations with some of the clients that we have, they have a very similar story. I have a degree, I graduated from college, or even I have a master's degree. I'm in the middle of nowhere. I feel depressed, or I feel like I can't find work, or the work that I can find is beneath me, or not beneath me, but, under my skill set. And I really want to be able to take a job or do something that is at my skill set. Mm-hmm. So I think that what you experienced when you moved out to, middle of nowhere is something that a lot of the listeners can really resonate to, and myself included. It happened to me. I'm like, where am I? Right. What am I going to do now? Being a military spouse, there is a connotation behind that. And I'm not sure if it's a stigma or maybe I kind of tend to pick things apart a little too much, but that definition of what we are supposed to be doing or people think that we're doing. And that is truly the purpose of this podcast, is to showcase and highlight we are doing so much more.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And that is so much of why I decided I'm not even going to look at those stigmas or those assumptions that people have made or that social media loves to portray, and be the change that I want to see in my community. And then once I started focusing on the positives of our community, I found the spouses that we have on our team, and the spouses that I found and that I call my friends and my military family, they came out of the woodworks because, you attract who you want to be, and you can surround yourselves with that community and those positive people and the people that are really getting things done and making things happen, because they're out there. Mm-hmm. They're just not the ones making all the noise, maybe.
Right. You got to find your tribe. So, right. Lisa, your business partner, how has she been instrumental in R Riveter? I mean, what does that look like to have a partner to lean on in business? Without
Lisa, there would have been no R Riveter. Wow. I think that, we we complement each other so well. We're so polar opposites on some things, and then we meet. We always joke that she's the PC, I'm the Mac. I'm the design, she's the analytics. We just complement each other so well. It's perfect.
So when you met Lisa, was she, did she own her own business before this, or were you guys kind of both in the same boat?
Yeah, no, we were in the exact same boat. We were looking for part-time jobs. We both had masters. We became running buddies first, actually.
Nice.
And then we started talking, what in the world are we going to do with ourselves? She actually has a more entrepreneurial background. She has her master's in business and has always been fueled by the idea of business and entrepreneurism. Mm-hmm. So for me, that was something so foreign, and I never even fathomed it really. And so with our two personalities and our two focuses, I think it came together pretty nicely.
And I can understand that too. I'm probably more, I probably resemble more of Lisa in that mindset, but the analytics and everything is really important because you have to figure out if this is working, right? Mm-hmm. Like is it working? Is it successful, or whatever that success is defined as? What's the next step for R Riveter?
The next step for us is always to continue to share our mission and grow the story of the military spouse. And I think we're going to do that with hopefully regional hubs. So, we just made a move from having one retail store in Southern Pines, North Carolina, just outside of Fort Bragg. And we just opened up a brand new retail location in Bethesda, just north of DC. So ultimately creating those regional hubs where military spouses can go and plug in person, be a part of this community, and then no matter where they go, they're connected. So it's really through the growth of our own little R Riveter community, and that's where we're going to be the most successful, empowering military spouses and growing our brand.
You should know that you are a huge source of inspiration, and you're a role model. So getting your name out there and being a voice for what you stand up for, whether it's military spouse entrepreneurship or whatever that cause is something that I see really highlighting from you. So I appreciate that. And I know that, it's not an easy thing to do either because you've got a life and a family to to manage. So
yeah, definitely. We got two kids and a husband who's got a crazy career also. But the one thing I wanted to say about that is it's so contagious. This idea that you can get up and you can do it and you can put yourself out there, it's contagious. So even if you're not working directly for R Riveter, or if you're not a Riveter contractor across the country, I've seen it just within starting the business small in Dahlonega. It's this idea that, oh my God, I can do this. And so I appreciate what you said about being a role model, because that in itself is incredibly humbling and rewarding all at the same time.
I told you, and I say this I'm sure the listeners now are getting sick of me saying this, but around the 17, 18 minute mark, we gotta wrap it up because Drop and Give Me 20 is supposed to be 20 minutes long. So, before we do, if you could give a piece of advice to those that are listening that are either active duty military spouse or veteran owned business, maybe they haven't even started their business yet. What is a piece of advice that you would give to those listeners?
So I think the strongest thing for me and Lisa has been to find your why before you even start, because that's what's going to get you through. And then you have to be really persistent, because ultimately what it comes down to is there have been several points along the way where Lisa and I felt, man, what are we doing? What have we done? What have we started? It makes you kind of want to quit. But ultimately that's never been an option for us. And so you persevere, you understand exactly where you want to be and where you are, and then don't be afraid of the in-between.
Let's give our listeners some direction on where to follow you or R Riveter. I know you guys are in social media, so go ahead and share with us your social media handles.
Absolutely. So they're all at R Riveter Bags, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and I believe Pinterest is all the same. So, and then our website is www.rriveter.com.
And R Riveter is spelled R.Riveter.
Yep.
Please check out R Riveter. They're doing really great things, and Bags on a Mission is their slogan, and I couldn't agree more. Cameron, thank you so much for your time today and for dedicating your morning to Drop and Give Me 20.
Lindsey, it was great to talk to you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Drop and Give Me 20, brought to you by Germono Advertising Company in Norfolk, Virginia. Please visit our podcast in iTunes, click on subscribe, and leave us a review. Your support goes a long way. When you subscribe and leave reviews, it helps the guests on our show as well. Jump in and let us know what you think. You can also follow all of our guests on the Drop and Give Me 20 Facebook page. We have Instagram and Twitter. Those handles are Give Me 20 Podcast. I'm your host, Lindsey Germono, and I appreciate you listening to the show.